Okay, so hi everybody and welcome to the KLU Open Day. We're so excited that so many of you could join us here today and spend a Saturday with us to get to know the university a little bit better. We have an exciting program planned for you with events happening here inside the Golden Egg and also in the foyer. And just enjoy today and please just ask many questions.
Yeah, and I can definitely say, or both of us can say, we've been students since 3 years at KLU. We're already graduating the Bachelor's program. And at KLU, throughout your time of your studies, we can assure you that you don't only grow academically, but also personally and as an individual. Throughout the classes here, they're small size, you get interaction, you have we have guest lectures, we also have meeting real-life entrepreneurs, we go to company visits, and that all rounds us up very well for the business world, as it's a competitive world to get into the market. But also personally, if you have ideas and you want to take an initiative, you want to open your own club, KLU supports you with that. KLU is you become part of a family when you join KLU. Everybody knows your name. If you have a bad hair day, we will notice that. And with that being said, becoming part of KLU is just you enter this new family, this new bubble, and it's immersive. I mean, I'm staying for the master, so what can I say more than that? Yeah, and now we would like to get to know you better. So bring out your phones and join the Mentimeter. I will also open it here. You can also, you have the QR code here, so meanwhile...
you can put the code, that's up top.
It's 37502.
Okay, Hamburg, that's expected, but cool.
Oh.
Germany. Ooh, some internationals also here. I mean, probably online, but thank you also for the online people to be here.
Yeah. Oh, Bangkok, that's exciting. I mean, Germany is winning, like they won last night. I think they have to also win this today.
I mean, there are a lot of people probably from Germany here today. But it's cool, you already see like different continents and everything.
Yeah, we have Brazil, we have Libya.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, this also shows how international the university
I'm jealous
is.
of the people having good weather, though. It's, yeah. India as well. I mean, yeah, that actually shows our student body, which is very international. Yeah, if you want to come to KLU to learn German, not the place to be. I haven't learned it, and it's been 3 years. Yeah. Okay. Then we'll move on to the next question. What would you be doing today if you weren't here? Like, I don't know, watch another European football match, I don't know, horse riding, play golf, tennis, study, write thesis. Okay, we changed the question. Okay.
Watch football. Couch. Couch sounds good.
Sleeping as well.
Okay, very diverse. Nothing so far that like doubles itself.
That's good. We have golf, we have walking. Are you sure about walking though with the weather? We have shopping. I support shopping.
Shopping is big now, okay.
Yeah. We have jogging, reading. Yeah, football also is like coming in different ways. So I think apply for another uni. Why? Stay at KLU. It's easier here. Talk to the recruitment people, admissions, you know, it's better. Okay, and we move on to the other questions. So if you're staying at KLU or studying here, what would you choose? Like, what are you studying for? Masters, bachelors?
Okay, a lot bachelors. I mean, if you have bachelor-related questions, you can always ask the two of us. We're doing our bachelors right now, but we have KLU ambassadors for every program. So you definitely find some others as well.
Yeah. Yeah, bachelors is leading.
Yeah.
That's cool. And the last question, what are you most looking forward to the open day? So is it going to be the mock lecture? Is it going to be student panel or looking at our beautiful campus, having a tour?
Or everything.
I mean, campus tour is always leading.
Yeah.
as expected.
I think campus tour is usually winning, yeah.
Yeah. So you have to stay till the end to watch the campus tour.
True. But it's diverse, so good thing that not something is like not wanted at all.
Yeah. Okay, and I think almost everybody voted, so we'll move on to the last part of our presentation.
Yeah, so thank you for participating in this, and we're getting to know you a little bit better. And now I just want to quickly go through the schedule of today. So immediately after this, Professor Barrault, our Dean of Programs, will present the programs. Then afterwards, we're going to have some talks in the foyer where you can talk to professors, staff, students. You notice all student ambassadors on their T-shirt. Then afterwards, we have a mock lecture by Professor Gazdag. And we also have the student panel, which is usually like the most forward-look part, where you actually get to ask students questions related to their experience. Then afterwards, we have talks again in the foyer. We also have food, which is an important point I want to mention.
And cocktails.
Cocktails. So if you want to grab a cocktail, a Flammkuchen, please do so. And yeah, afterwards, in the end, we have the most high expected campus tours. So there, please just grab a student ambassador and they can show you around. And then this is going to be the end of our program today.
And now I'd like to hand over to our Dean of Programs, Professor Barrault, to talk to you more about KLU and its programs. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks, Vanessa, Xenia. So I know you're very busy. You're, I think, 2 or 3 weeks away from handing in your bachelor thesis. Yes. All going well, I heard. Yeah. And you were not forced to be here. It was voluntarily. Yeah. So that's always good to hear. And so, yeah, welcome here at KLU. My name is Christian Barrault. I'm very happy that you all found your way. Some probably with a cracked voice after cheering yesterday. I think mine is still fine. That would have been different if I would be Scottish. But having a French name, but being luckily German, the 5 goals were on the right side. I'm very happy that you all found your way, not just here, but also online. So also, if I talk to the people online, I look there. You tend to look there, but the camera is there. Yeah, so I look this way. It's no offense to the crowd joining us from afar. You all are there, and we heard it. Was it Brazil, Bangkok, Kleinborstel? That's about KLU, right? So from Bangkok to Kleinborstel, everything in one place. And what we're going to do today is to present you the university in all its different facets. And in the very beginning of any of these events or presentations, and you may have seen other universities as well, or you may see other universities afterwards, although I don't think you should, but you may will. Any university has a chart like that, yeah? And where they say, we're fantastic. Really fantastic, and then they count reasons why they are fantastic, and we do the same. Right? We have this chart. We say we are super academic rigor. We have highest research performance possible. We have small classes, very interactive teaching. We are truly international. There's internships. There's practice involved. You have stay abroad. You have a career network and a wonderful campus. So that would be our chart. And now for you, it's very important, as this is a very crucial decision to choose a university, particularly a private one where you have to pay, and that you make up your mind, is it just a facade, is it just, a pretense, or is there substance behind these promises? Yeah? Is it a school that just promises, or is it a school that also delivers? Yeah? So this is a promise, and I will kind of walk you through the different aspects of this to show you how we at KLU deliver and live up to these promises, which is, I think, something that makes us quite unique and hopefully quite interesting for you. Now, we heard that there were quite a few who are interested in the bachelor's program, right? Could you raise your hand again? So that, quite a few. Yeah, excellent. And so sometimes you have already an idea what business administration, management, BWL is about. Yeah, but you'll be surprised maybe how various the topics are that fall under this umbrella, and some of these you would have not considered to be part of a school like KLU. So, for example, we have my dear colleague Maria Visiu, or my fellow Dean of Research, and she's one of the leading researchers in the world in humanitarian logistics. Yeah? So if there's a disaster in the world, it's not just that you need people who want to help. You also need a structure and operations in place to do this. Yeah? So, for example, the United Nations have 15,000 white Land Cruiser Jeeps in Africa, but you have to have them in the right place. And that is what she, for example, works with international agencies and NGOs to make sure that if disaster strikes, the resources are in the right place. Or if you look down this way, down the river, right? You see a company called Airbus, yeah? And particularly during the Euro Cup or World Cup, this is a great company to be because you have people from France and from Germany and from Netherlands and Spain and UK and everything. And you got to work together, yeah? And that's not so easy. And learning how you lead diverse teams, how you work with different cultures as a company, but also as an individual, that's what you learn with Christian Tröster. Then we have Markus Rietell, who looks into international trade, and not just from the perspective of the Western world or the Northern Hemisphere, but from a global perspective. So how can we make this a fair game? How can we ensure that this is handled in a way that not just one side profits, but it's profitable for both ways? We have someone like Niels van Kwarkeby, who's just upstairs on the 5th floor giving a lecture to our MBA alumni who are here today and get frequent updates. And he's talking about leadership and how to be a respected leader. And today he's talking about how AI will change leadership styles and also requirements. A very interesting talk. And if you're interested in, he will be there downstairs in a while for the buffet, I'm sure. So just talk to him. We have Gordon Wilmsmeyer, a colleague who's working on maritime transportation. Obviously, we're here in the port of Hamburg. That makes sense. And there are lots of challenges, right? So if you see these buildings outside here where New Work is sitting or England Focus, they can't open the windows. Why? Because cruise ships moor there and the exhaust fumes are so toxic that you can't leave them into your room. So he's working on actually ways of changing that, of making this kind of industry greener, both on the land side as well as on the seaside. And then we have someone like Jan Becker, who actually does management and is working on how to stimulate customer satisfaction and word of mouth, which is obviously very important because we thrive on that we have happy customers, happy students, and we hopefully have. And you can ask them, all of them, they are voluntarily here. Nobody is forced, nobody is paid. It's all their free will, mostly, and to say what they have experienced here. So these are very different topics, some of which you would probably not have expected here. And then if you think about it, it's a business school, yeah, so all business professors, but the background of the professors is very diverse. Yeah? So Maria, for example, is an engineer by training. Christian Tröster is from sociology. Markus is from economics. Niels is from psychology. Gordon is a geographer. And Jan Becker, he actually studied management. Yeah? So even though we have a singular topic as a business school, we have a very diverse background, and we try to use it to give you all different angles on these topics. Now, one thing we brag about and we talk about, and you will hear at least from the professors quite a bit today, is research. And that is a research school, a research-driven university. And as a student or as a parent, you may wonder, why is that important to me? Because if you have all these professors who do all the research, what's happening is they're traveling around the world and they are always away and you can talk to them and they don't do the lectures. So what's the benefit for me as a student? Now, think about the world we're living in. You see topics rising very quickly and with a large dynamic. And we have, for example, the two major topics, digitalization and sustainability. And if you think of stuff like, ChatGPT, so who has used ChatGPT already? Quite a few. Okay. Who has heard of ChatGPT before 23? Very few. Yeah? And so if you think about a teaching environment, yeah, where you rely on textbooks, you have the issue that people do research, and these research projects last 2, 3, 4 years, and then it takes another 1, 2 years to get this published. That's a very meticulous process, and then it gets another 2, 3 years until it's taken up in a textbook. So anyone who's teaching textbook knowledge is teaching you 7, 8, 9-year-old knowledge. Do you want to have 8-year-old knowledge in digitalization, on AI, or on sustainability? Yeah, so the stuff that's been done in 2016 or something. Likely not, yeah, because the world has changed drastically. So it is very important to be at a place where you learn from those people who not just teach the knowledge and teach the new ideas and concepts and methods, but who also research and invent and develop them. Because then you can be part of that development and research process already while it's happening. Yeah, so you hear the new stuff while it's being developed. And if you, for example, write your thesis, you can already be part of that. Yeah, bachelor thesis, master thesis, or if you continue in the PhD program. So this is essential, that you not just have people who have read in the newspaper or quickly put together some stuff on AI, but for example, we had a DFG research group already being funded in 2014 on that topic. Yeah, so I had people getting their PhD on that before ChatGPT came out. And so what a large language model is not new to our students, and it's not new to us, but something we have worked on ourselves. Yeah? And that obviously is very important if you want to have the most up-to-date knowledge, the most timely information if you venture out into the world. And as you can see, we are not so bad in that area, as a German would say, yeah, but actually quite good, as an international would say. So we work with the very best universities in the world. We have people who have a background in the very best universities, and we pride ourselves in being, on the very top level in terms of academic output, be it in terms of publications, but also be it in terms of, research funding. And we have people who have been instrumental. Yeah? So if you have someone like Alan McKinnon, our beloved Scotsman here, he laughs there. He doesn't laugh today. He's not here. He's crying at home. But he was, working on CO2 accounting and footprint topics already in the 1980s, and has been since a decade or more than a decade an advisor to the European Union. And now in 24, 25, as some of you know, the CO2 accounting and environmental sustainability measures come into place, and he was part of developing that over decades. Yeah? And that's sort of the knowledge and background you can expect here at KLU. Now, another aspect is the global perspective. Yeah, anyone can claim to be international, but you have to live up to that. And although we are in Hamburg, and although we are Kleinborstel friendly, we show you the world. Yeah? So in that sense that we have a very international student body, you saw that. Yeah? I don't know whether you noticed, one of the two was international. Yeah? So guess who? And so we have more than 50% of our students coming from abroad, particularly in the master's programs, but also in the bachelor. We are way more international than in other places. And everything is in English. That's not just the courses and the professors teaching, but it's also the administration. Yeah, so you're not lost if you want to have some BAföG-Antrag, or if you need some housing support or something. Also, people in accounting, also people on the front desk, they do speak English and have oftentimes an international background, help you with getting settled in Hamburg, help you with getting accustomed to Germany. And so we have all the countries, yeah, so, from Brazil to Thailand, I can remember. I know because I have to read out the names at the graduation, and so I have to learn. And what is different to many other places is that it's not just the student body, but also the staff, but also the faculty that is very international. We have many colleagues who come from abroad and bring these different perspectives, not just from the student side, but also from the professorial side. Yeah, so we have, for example, Shushu, our colleague Shushu Liao in finance from China. We have Rod Franklin from the United States. We have Marcus Rittel from Brazil, who knows how to lose against Germany, as does Alan McKinnon from Scotland. We have Miriam Meyer from the Netherlands, who's already painted up in Oranje because they play I think tomorrow in Hamburg, already celebrating. And we have someone like Günther Lang, who's from Bavaria. Yeah? That's how inclusive we are. Even people from Bavaria are welcome here at the community of Kleinborstel. Yeah? And part of that experience is not just being here in this very international surrounding, but part of it is also going out. And so a key element of that is the stay abroad. So we have a mandatory exchange semester stay abroad in the bachelor's and also in the master's, ample opportunities to go to other universities, other countries all around the world, very interesting places in Europe, but also on any continent in the world. Just come in. And this experience, I think you will agree, is always a great one, right? Being really abroad for some, I was the first time really away from home and learned how to use a washing machine. That was what I took away. And you're really afar and you feel different, yeah, being outsider or being foreign in a country. You learn different cultures, and sometimes, there are friendships for life that you form in these places. And next to these stay abroad, we also have many other formats, yeah. So there are UN conferences in Barbados. We had a student delegation there. Or last year we had the GIZ, the Gesellschaft für internationale Zusammenarbeit. They had stipends sending our students to Africa. Africa, for example. Yeah, so there are many opportunities for this experiences come in to experience different cultures, different administrative approaches, academic systems, but also, emerging into, this world with future friends in different countries. You see some pictures here from different continents, and they have fun, and rightly so. Now, even if you stay here, so there are some things we can't control, that's the weather, but everything else I hope we have under control. So the facilities here are quite okay, I would say. So highly digitized, quite a new building. We heavily invest in our technology and our equipment here. In the classrooms, you will have the campus tour, and you will see, we have the student lounge where you can also watch football, where we see where we have the kicker and everything. We have nice spaces to group work and have little teams or prepare your exams. And what did I say here? 1 minute to the Elbe, you see outside, 5 minutes to Mönckebergstraße, or here we have a new shopping center built up, 10 minutes to Reeperbahn. I don't know what that means. But anyway, so for the parents, I don't know, the students may have an idea what that is. And if you are coming back from Reeperbahn or everywhere else, we also have a fitness center where you can kind of get in shape and, get the long nights or whatever short nights out of your system. That's there. I'm told, I've never been in the fitness center, to be honest, but it should be great, I heard. Okay, another aspect, and I already alluded to that is important, being a private university, is the service you get. Yeah? So obviously, colleagues, and I've been at State School Hamburg or Kiel or something, are also, we have wonderful colleagues there, worked very closely with them, and also people who work there are very engaged and try to do the best. The problem is, though, the resources are available in a very different shape. I think we have about the same number of student counselors in terms of career service as the University of Hamburg, but we have just 1% of the students. And if you see the level of service that you get provided, starting from your application here at KLU, helping you with the very cumbersome visa process. If you apply, for example, from India, you have to do this APS, and you have to do your visa, and you have to find housing and everything. So every step we help you through. And the same is true also for things like the study program, helping you choosing the right courses, helping you prepare for the stay abroad, making sure you have the right formats. So if you go abroad, you will have everything accredited that you bring back home. Yeah? So there are no surprises or no begging with the professors that the courses are acknowledged. If you prepare for the job market, being from Germany or being from abroad, you are prepared. If it's maybe your first employment, you're coming out of school, you don't know how to write a CV, you don't know how this kind of process runs. We have, dry runs where you do mock interviews, where you prepare your LinkedIn page. So all of this is done by all these wonderful people that you see here, and it's just a fraction. We even have more. And you see this here also on the open day. If you think about how many guests we have and how many people we have here at KLU trying to be here to inform you, to help you, to guide you, this is about the experience you have in the day-to-day operations here. Yeah? So the ratio of support staff, the ratio of professors to students is, I think, unmatched, at least in Germany. Now, programs. I will just sort of quickly browse through this because we have different booths outside there, and we have the student ambassadors who can, from first-hand experience, explain you way more details if you're interested in, and give you all these little nitty-gritty information on what subjects are covered, what specializations are there. But just sort of a quick rundown. So we have, on the undergrad level, we have what we call a preparation program that's targeted at those students coming from countries where you're not allowed to enter university directly in Germany. So that would be, for example, countries like India or Ukraine or something, where you need to first take you have to acquire your Hochschulzulassungsberechtigung, wonderful German term, and that will be done in this prep program, 1-year program. Then we have obviously the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. That's our typical 3-year bachelor program. Starts out very general, and then you have the opportunity in the last year after your stay abroad to specialize a bit in areas like international management, sustainable management, supply chain management, or digital management and innovation. You can also mix and match. So we have very rarely one student who has the same curriculum as another one. So lots of opportunities you have there. And there are also different flavors. We have an intensive track where you can even gather more credits if you want to do a shorter master's, and even get, I think, the credits worth of 7 semesters in 6 semesters. There are lots of options, and we have the right people to talk to who have gone through the program and have this all fresh in their mind. Then we have the master's programs. First, the Master of Science programs, where we basically have 3 programs currently in place. So one is the Master of Science in Global Logistics and Supply Chain Management. That's the largest program that we started with also. I think about 70 students and 2 cohorts. Very international program, obviously, something that is very well placed here in Hamburg and KLU. We have the International Management program linking to this internationalization process that we see, and the very international atmosphere at KLU. And we will have next year, there are some who are interested in starting next year, a new Masters of Science in Business Analytics and Data Science, and that lives up to this new world, where you know machine learning, AI and everything, where you got to either handle the algorithm or you'll be handled by the algorithm, and we prefer to be the former rather than the latter. Again, there are different ways of doing that. We have a standard track, which is 4 semesters. We have a fast track in 3 semesters for those who have already been abroad in their bachelors, and we also have some cooperation options that we're currently expanding with international partners to look for dual degrees, and that's all in the making. And then for those who are a bit older or a bit more experienced, shall we say, have already some work experience of several years, there is executive education opportunities here. We have some alumni also here on the campus who you can talk to. And that would be the part-time MBA in Leadership and Supply Chain Management, so classical MBA, but with a little flavor on this logistics topic. And we have a new part-time Master in Sustainable Management Operations, SuMO, that just started last year. Very interesting program. That's a program geared toward those people who are now currently working at all these corporations and trying to live up to these promises their CEOs have done. We will be carbon neutral by 2030 or 2040. And then they went away, and now people have to do it and actually achieve it. And we try to train those people who actually deliver on that. Yeah, very interesting programs. As said, we will have all these information from the staff side on the right-hand side, and you have all the student ambassadors with the T-shirts. Ask them, and they will help you. Well, I have to be careful that I not be attacked by a chair here. Now, studying at a private school entails that there is some fee involved. Yeah. So, and now, how can we handle that? Now, the easiest way is if you have brought your parents or loved ones. Yeah, just look to the left and look to the right, and if they say you're good, yeah, because they're going to pay. Now, if your parents don't really love you, and you have to find other ways of funding, there are different options. Yeah? So the simple most way is if you're part of the German Olympic team. Yeah? So if you compete in Paris and are out there for a medal, you get a scholarship. Okay, no takers. We'll have students who do that. Yeah, so surprisingly. Now, if you're an excellent student, for example, if you're part of the scholarship network of the big, in this case, German merit-based foundations, so Studienstiftung and so on, again, we'll have a waiver. And if that's also not for you, then there are options to fund the program credit fund. We work together with Brain Capital. It's basically a concept where you get a loan that pays all your tuition fees, and then you only have to pay back once you graduate and get a job with a minimum salary, and then you have to pay this back over time. If you don't get a job, no payback. If you get a job with not a good salary, you have to pay little. And if you get a job with a very good salary, you have to pay a bit more. And you can imagine we take that risk because we expect and know that our students will get a good job. Yeah? So this is a option to fund this if other means are not available. And we also have scholarships at KLU in various dimensions, merit-based, but also social-oriented scholarships. If you're interested in that, please reach out to us, because we also want to be a place that's not just a rich kid place, but that is inclusive and has opportunities for people, no matter what the financial background of their family or themselves is. Yeah? Now, your parents would probably wonder and say, why should I pay that? Yeah, why don't you go to University of Hamburg? That's for free, right? So we save, let's say, 35 or whatever thousand euros. And well, that's the case, right? So it's not bad there. But what I would argue, and that's the first business concept you learn today, opportunity cost, is that if you want to do the same experience at that university, state school, where you want to do 2 internships, 1 internship, where you want to do a stay abroad, where you want to have the courses that you like and prefer, it will be impossible to do this in the 6 semesters that are the regular time, but it will rather take 7 or 8 semesters. Now, if you take 8 semesters at the state school, right, you're still studying for a year when our students are already in the job market. And guess what? In this 1 year where they're already in the job market, they earn more than they have paid in tuition fees before. Well, that's a rather short payoff period, right? Plus, you get the different service level. So I think that's also, from an economic perspective, a very convincing deal. Yeah? Now, how can I be so sure? How can we be so sure that you'll end up in a good job and there is a payoff to what you invest here? One basis is that we have a very strong network with industry who come here for recruiting, who come here for talks, for sessions, for workshops, for case studies, and basically all the classes we have. And we have events with our alumni, we have events with strategic partners of the universities, and they are from all over the place. And that's something we're very proud of. There is this one KLU graduate that's all in investment banking or in consulting or in startups or something. But we have very diverse students who have careers in all sorts of areas and all sorts of trades. And to give you a few examples, we have the typical students who go to the German blue chip companies at, I don't know, BMW or Volkswagen or Porsche or Lufthansa or whatever. So the big ones that you all heard of. And we also have those who go to these typical Hamburg players. Yeah? So Chibo, Otto, Airbus, and be here. And we also have the people who go to the consultancies, the McKinseys and Boston Consulting and Roland Berger, but also the big 4 accounting firms like Katharina. But we also have people who have totally different careers, right? So people who are at niche groups where they lead, and Dominic was the first board member we had out of a program, out of our MBA program. Or we have some students who have a family business background. Yeah? So for example, Christopher, he had a family business in Lower Saxony, and basically a week after he graduated, his father said, son, now you've done your master's, I'll retire and you take over the company, which has, I think, 7,000 employees and 600 million sales or something. Yeah, and he's still there, still thriving. So I hope he learned a bit. And then we have people like, for example, Jakob Hein. So if you call the United Nations and check who's in charge of supply chain topics, it's him. Yeah, so he did his master's here, he did his PhD here, and is now in New York coordinating the efforts of the United Nations in all these supply chain topics they have. So we have from NGOs, from people who are going to Haiti to support people in the most terrible environment, lawlessness, crisis, earthquakes, and so on. We have people who go to investment banking. We have people who work for small companies, who found companies, who take over companies, and we have people who work for the big multinationals. So that's what we try to have, an individual career for all what your individual needs are, and that's what we strive for here at KLU. Now, if you want to be part of that, and that's something that you will hear once in a while today, there's an application process that's very straightforward. It's all online. If you are applying for the Bachelor program, you can already apply now, even if the final certificate is not there. You can hand this in later. And we also have an interview in the Bachelor program to check, because all your CVs are you have not done so much, right? So we want to check. And these interviews are not so much about checking whether you're good in math, but it's more like finding out what type of person you are, right? So whether you fit the team. So, I do this since years, and sometimes you admit people because you feel they are great for the class. Yeah? I've admitted people because I knew they do a great party. And he did, yeah. So he lived up on that. So it's not just math nerds; it's also people with a very international background, some experience that are valuable. So if you apply, you think about what do you bring on the table. It's not just grades, but it helps, yeah. And the deadlines for this vary a bit depending on where you're from. And we are very fast. Yeah? We are very efficient. We can make these turnaround times very quick. Unfortunately, for some, particularly if you're outside of Europe, it's a bit tricky with regard to visa requirements, and these are things we can't really speed up. So if you're international, apply, please, as quick as possible, because any day counts to get you into the process, to get the licenses, the APS system, if you're from India or China, to get the visa and get you into Germany on time when we start in September. If you are in Germany, again, the earlier you apply, the earlier you're sure that you have a place. Yeah? So if you're selected, we have an rolling admission, so whenever you apply, that application will be handled, and you get feedback, I think, generally within 2 weeks. And if you're late to the party, you decide only in late stage. So 15th of August we can handle so that you start on the 1st or 2nd of September. Yeah, that's how fast we are. But thinking of housing and everything, again, the faster the better. Now, if you do this, there will be the day of reckoning one time, right? So when, students arrive here and then they go outside in their gowns and throw their hats up there on the stairs. And this year it will be a bit different because for the first time we'll do this in the Elbphilharmonie, our graduation ceremony. But you see here all the people downstairs. You see Mr. Kuhn and his wife being happy, our supervisory board chief, Dr. Dreger, and me in my fancy dress. And, and that's sort of the day when, I have to live up to the promises I made on some open day, because all of them at some point in time have been here, have been promised a lot. So I meet the students again, the graduates, I meet the parents again, and I ask, okay, did I promise too much? Yeah? Should I be afraid? Yeah? Should I be shivering if I go to this event? I've never been. And the feedback on these days were always positive, and people say, yeah, you promised quite a bit. Yeah? And I was wondering, so is that really something you live up to? But, surprisingly or not, KLU did deliver. Yeah, and that's sort of the promise we make, not just promising, but delivering, and that's what we do at KLU. And if you want to be part of that, reach out to the colleagues here, reach out to all these colleagues online or via chats or whatever, or in person if you're here, and be part of that family, and then we could start that journey for you in the first week of September here at KLU. You would be most welcome. Thank you. And now we have time to go outside, to mingle a bit in smaller groups, to grab a drink, to grab a Flammkuchen, to grab a brochure, and have some talks. Yeah? So feel free, go outside and mingle.
All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Brooke Gosdog. I'm a professor here at the KLU, and I have the honor of giving you an introduction lecture to see a little bit about what it's like to study at KLU. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then we'll go into the topic of we are all biased. It's a very strong statement, and so I'm curious to hear also a little bit about what you think about that. And so to tell you a little bit about my story, as you can probably hear from my accent, I am not originally from Germany. Has anybody been to Niagara Falls? A few people? All right, so I grew up pretty close to there in Rochester, New York. Or it's also very famous in that region for the buffalo wings, chicken wings. And so if you've heard of those, that's the region where I grew up. And that's also where I completed my studies, first studying psychology, and then I really wanted to understand how psychology can make our work lives better. And so I continued with my PhD looking at organizational behavior, organizational psychology, and from there, I was always interested in living abroad. And so the very first job offer I got was actually at the Technical University of Munich, where I learned that there's not just High German, but also Bavarian as a language. And all the preparation that I did before I landed did not prepare me for entering the supermarket and hearing Grüß Gott for the first time. But I enjoyed my time in Munich, embraced the culture, Oktoberfest, and all of that. And I also then worked at the University of Munich as an assistant professor. After some time there, I had an opportunity to go abroad, and I got a position at the University of Amsterdam. That was right in March 2020, and I'm sure many of you remember what happened then. It was a very interesting time to be starting a new position right at the start of the pandemic. The first class I was also teaching was called Leadership in the Digital Age, so I figured I better walk the talk as we're dealing with basically going from being in workplaces to completely being at home. And so embraced an innovative video-based learning and other kinds of techniques to really tackle that topic. After some time in Amsterdam, I realized I missed Germany. And so I had the opportunity to come here as a KLU. So I'm not just a professor of management, but also the academic director of executive education. So trying to cultivate unique learning journeys also for executives. So taking all that together, I see myself having a very specific role as a professor, as an educator. And so I call myself a curator of knowledge, meaning that I try to bring in together different perspectives and put them together in a somewhat coherent framework, which I'm going to try to do for you today as well. And I also am very much an advocate for better ways of working. And I'm constantly asking myself the question, can we do this better? Or how can we do this better? And I focus on 3 topics in particular about how we can do work better. So one is leadership, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. The other is negotiation, and also diversity and inclusion, which is also tied into today's lecture. So that's a little bit about me and my journey and how I ended up here. And now I'd like to talk about our topic for today. So before I go in and I start talking about bias, who can raise their hand and proudly say, I am biased? All right, this is good. This is cleansing. Yes, exactly. Perfect. So yes, first step, acknowledging, yes, there is bias. We are all biased. So let's talk about that and understand that in the context also of gender bias and leadership. So I like this quote because I think it illustrates also the complexity of the human experience. So here it's a sad era when it's easier to smash an atom than a prejudice. So we have a lot of social feedback from society, from others, to shape the way that we think. We have different impulses coming in, and a lot of times we have to also adapt those impulses and those pieces of information to expand our minds and to allow for different possibilities. And breaking out of those well-worn tracks in our minds is part of the challenge when it comes to overcoming bias or prejudice. And so let's talk about it. What is bias? What does it look like? So from an evolutionary perspective, it's our way of trying to treat our already very complex environment and find these shortcuts, a quick way to understand what is going on in front of us. And so it shapes the way we interpret information because we're just really quickly trying to assess, for example, is this a friend or a foe? Do I need to fight or do I need to run? And we're trying to understand that as quickly as possible because, of course, evolutionarily speaking, that's a life or death situation. And so biases, if we see it as such, it's a mental shortcut that is a well-worn track in our minds. And it works in so many different ways. So I'm going to give you first a visual representation. So here are 2 tables. Do you think these 2 tables are the same length? Which table, if not, do you think is longer? What do you think? The left? Okay. All right, let's measure it. So here we have a line showing us exactly how long the table on the left is. Let's take that line and move it over to the other table. And my magic trick, there we go. All right, if I didn't manipulate the image somehow, it actually shows that the one on the left is the shorter table than the one on the right. Now, if I take that away, let's go back. Can you see it differently, even though now I've just told you that the left table is shorter than the right table? No, it's really hard. And so even though I've pointed out a bias to you, you're all very smart, intelligent people. You can tell, you can measure things, you can tell things that are longer and shorter. It's really hard to unsee these things. And so if we go back and we look at how our minds work, there are so many different shortcuts and biases that help us interpret our already very complex environment. So here's one just infographic trying to collect them all, sort of like Pokemon, got to collect them all. And we see here we have 188 cognitive biases just on this wheel here. And so these biases are operating within us every day, every moment. And so even now, as you're sitting here taking in this information, you might be biased by the way that I'm speaking or the way that I present information. For example, if I was to ask you at the end, what do you remember most about this lecture? You're going to be very likely to remember what I told you first and what I told you last, because that's simply a bias in how we process information. And so these biases are very powerful, and they shape the way that we interpret our environment. And of course, has anybody here read the book Thinking Fast and Slow? Yeah, some? And so this is also part of our two different systems in the way that we think. So system one is a fast thinking. So again, when we're looking and we're trying to scan the environment quickly, we're activating this system one thinking. And then we have the system two thinking, which is where we're really deliberate. We're taking step by step and trying to slow down the automatic processing. Now, system one is helpful because it's automatic. We can't possibly process every piece of information that's in front of us. It's quick, it's intuitive, it's unconscious because it's something that, again, is automatically running. But with system two, it's very deliberate, step by step. It takes a lot of energy and effort. It can be very logical. We might follow certain steps, weigh our decisions, prioritize our criteria that's important to us. And so it becomes a very conscious process. Now, when we're dealing with bias, a lot of times we're in this system one thinking, and the things that we can do in order to go against this bias is to try to engage in this more deliberate, effortful processing. Now, with that in mind, let's take a deep dive on a specific kind of bias. So, as I mentioned, diversity and inclusion are also really important topics for me. And let's take a deep dive then into gender bias and just trying to understand it. So, when it comes to gender bias, what that means is that we tend to process the same information differently. So, for example, there was a very famous study where they were given, there was two candidates, and participants were given CV of candidate A and CV of candidate B. And then participants rated candidate A, how competent are they, how much would they like to work with this person? And the other group rated candidate B, how competent does this person seem? How much would they like to work with this person? And they read stories also about their success, their ability to network. And the twist was that it was actually the same story. It was actually the same exact person, but the two candidates were rated differently. The only difference was that one of them was rated as less desirable to work with, even though both were seen as equally competent. And the difference on the CV was the name. So Heidi, who was on the CV, and Howard, they were seen as equally competent, but Heidi, people didn't want to work with her as much. Same exact information, same go-getter personality, networker, competent, performer, but when we read this information and we put a different category on it, in this case it happens to be gender, that same information is interpreted differently. And so when it comes to gender bias, there's a couple different ways that we can categorize it. And here's one framework that I find particularly helpful. So we can look at it from a demand side factor. And so that's how do people perceive and react to men and women? So we see an action, we react to it, we encode it. And the other side is how do men and women behave and think? So that's an internal process. How do I perceive the world differently based on how I've been socialized or the kind of feedback that I've gotten from the greater community? And so that's then me interacting with the world. So let's break down these two sides. So first with the demand side. So I have a short video for you. And it's an advertisement. It's a couple years old now. But I think it does a really nice job of capturing this demand side. So here, take a look. It's just about 30 seconds. And then I have a couple questions for you. So pay close attention to how you see bias working in this video.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm going to just give you some actions to do. And just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair. Oh my God.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aw. My name is Dakota, and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast
And so,
as you can.
this is where she says, meaning run like a girl. This is run as fast
So
as you
do
can.
you think
So when
you
did
just
becoming
insulted your sister?
doing something like a girl become an insult? Well, so he says, no, it's not an insult. Well, maybe to girls, but not my sister. And so this video highlights a couple different aspects here. So based on the video, who holds stereotypes? What did you notice? The men, definitely. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, please. Exactly. So it was something that was learned. Absolutely. Yeah, please. Exactly. There's some distance between the group, right? So that's answering almost those three questions. Other perspectives? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so if we look at it together, so we say who holds stereotypes. So I would add on top of the men, also the women, as we saw. I will not demonstrate it again, but we saw everybody ran like a girl, right? So both the men and the women actors. So we see that just because you're part of a group doesn't mean that you don't also hold a bias or a stereotype about that group. So just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I'm not biased towards other women. When do we have stereotypes? Where do they come from? Indeed, they're not something that we're necessarily born with. It's something that we learn over time. And so it's something that we get feedback from, whether it's from media, whether it's from people that we're interacting with. It can be our friends, our family, it could be at school, it could be at work. We get feedback about behavior that's desirable and behavior that's less desirable. And then we adjust ourselves accordingly. So we can see where we talked a little bit about this demand side, so how we perceive men and women, but also how it starts to shape our own behavior. And who do we stereotype? We tend to stereotype people that we don't know. So that last video, the little boy, he says it also very well, but he says, no, not my sister, but girls. This other group that's far away from me. And so that is also an important distinction. We tend to use stereotypes and bias to fill in information when we otherwise have some sort of gap in information. And so it's usually a group that we're somehow somewhat distant from. And so we're trying to fill that gap with whatever information that we have. And that tends to be more biased information. And so that was more this demand side. So how do we perceive and react to women or men? And so the supply side factor is then how do men or women behave or think differently? And again, this is from a social feedback process. And so I have a question for you up on the slide. It's from a survey where they asked men and women to respond to the same questions. Now, there was several different ones, but I have just one for you here. So this one is actually on the domain of negotiation. And I'm sure everyone here has heard about the gender pay gap. And there's a lot of different theories about why this pay gap exists. We're going to dive into that in just a moment, but one of the theories would say it has something to do with this kind of statement. So the statement says, is I determine what I'm worth, and it's up to me to make sure my company pays what I'm worth. So in other words, if I think I deserve more money, I need to ask for it. So out of the men that responded to this question, out of 100%, what percentage of men do you think agreed with this statement? Said, yep, it's up to me to make sure my company pays what I'm worth. Out of 100%, how much? Yeah, 80? Yeah, 100%. Just go straight for the top. Any other more humble guesses? No? 50? Yeah. 68. All right. I like the precision. All right. Yeah, exactly. 0.66667. 85%. So very high. What do you think for women? 25? 20? 50? Yeah. 70? Let's go with 100. We're very optimistic. I like it. I feel like I'm running an auction. Do I hear? No? Well done. All right, deep breath. All right. So what does this tell us? What do you see up here? Bias. You got it. It's a good guess. So indeed, and this is actually an internal bias, right? So this is shaping the bias that I see, I observe, the way that people react to me in different ways. Maybe as a woman, I have this belief that, if I work hard, somebody is going to notice it. Somebody's going to reward it at some point. I have this belief system because anytime I might speak up or ask for something for myself, maybe that's what I'm also told. On the other side, if I'm a man, and again, these are big generalizations, so if we had more time, we can pick it all apart a little bit more. But maybe as a man, I'm said, good for you for asking for what you need, to support your family and to make sure that you take care of the finances at home. And these are things that reinforce these very narrow stereotypes and biases. And being aware of it just makes us shift from this system 1 thinking, which again was the very intuitive, very quick, to a system 2 and say, what is actually behind my thinking and my reacting to this person sitting in front of me? And so this shows that it's not just about bias in terms of how we perceive and interpret others, but also how that feeds back into our own behavior. And so it's a feedback loop that we need to be aware of. And so what does this matter for leadership? So if we look at the evolution of leadership and how we've studied it, one of the very first ideas was that leadership is based on traits. And one of the names of the theories was called the big man theory of leadership. So you see already a little bit of a problematic view on what leadership is. And the idea was that particularly traits that are expected in men, that is what makes a great leader, or the great man theory of leadership. And then we started to think, okay, leadership might be based more on a set of behaviors, and we started to look at things like transformational leadership and saying that it's what leaders do. That's what makes a good leader or not. So we started shifting away because we realized a man, a woman, a purple alien, they can all do the same behaviors and be a good leader. So this definition started to broaden. And then we started saying, well, what the definition of good leadership, it also depends on the context, what's expected, what's needed. And so we can already see that in the evolution of how we saw leadership was already informed a bit by bias and by the things that we saw in front of us. So I ask you, who do you see as a leader? Just name a few names. Yeah.
Mainly the big and loud one.
The big and loud. So any big and loud person, leader. All right. Any specific names also? Any specific big and loud people? Ooh, okay. If we have to. Thanks. What else? Yeah, please.
For me, one of the most
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, nice juxtaposition, big and loud versus, Mahatma Gandhi, he who shall not be named. Sorry, what is it? Yeah, Margaret Thatcher, okay. Yeah, yes, getting some diversity in here. Yeah. Angela Merkel, also I'll take it. Yep. I like how you're going with the description. Do you know an extroverted and did you say complicated? Yeah.
No, communicative.
Oh, communicative. Complicated is also allowed. Yeah. So think a little broader. Barack Obama, okay. Yeah, I see another hand back there.
My mother.
Your mother, absolutely. Without knowing her, I agree. Any other leaders? So I think it's really interesting that so far the ideas are a little bit more formal for the most part. So I have a collection of different people up here. Some of the names were up here. And to the extent that you agree with me, would you say these people are also leaders? What do you think? Yeah, please.
Because they are all really sure what they stand for.
say, maybe I will think differently, but they really are behind the people or the ideas.
Yeah, and that's a very nice summary of a values-based leadership. Absolutely, that they know what they stand for, and because of the way that they communicate or are communicative, others know what they stand for as well. And we see a diversity of things that people stand for up here, of course. Yeah. And we can argue back and forth who might be a leader, who might not be a leader, who's a good leader, who's a bad leader. But all of these things, and when we think back to our bias and these great man theory of leadership, we see how far we've come in terms of how broad this definition of leadership can be. And so I'll just briefly introduce you to a theory that helps to explain what happens, how and when do we categorize somebody as a leader. So leadership categorization theory would tell you that we know a leader when we see one. And so this is, again, this very intuitive approach. So if I was to line myself up here with some other people, maybe we have a very tall white man next to me, and I make you guess, who do you think is the leader? We would have an intuition about it. We feel like we know when we see one, or some of these descriptions, somebody who's very extroverted, someone who's big and loud. These are these intuitive processing that we do to see, okay, who's the leader in the room? And again, this is can be a very automatic process. So we try to find a match based on certain characteristics. And so there's two different ways that we can do this. One is with a prototype matching, meaning that we have these lists of things, so big, loud, extroverted, communicative, and we compare really quickly this person in front of us to our list. On the other hand, we have an exemplar matching. So if we, for example, take the last leader who was named, so for example, our mother, we'll just take her for all of us, and we say, okay, this is my idea of what a leader is, and I compare it against the people that are in front of me. And so these are two processes that we engage in when we're trying to figure out who is a leader and who do I see as a leader. And I'll just quickly go through this because I think we're running also out of time. But you can see this process. We match against the list, or we match against somebody who we perceive as a leader. And the closer we get, the more likely we are to see this person as a leader. And this is important, and I circle back now to the idea of bias, because good leaders are in the eye of the beholder in this sense. If we look at leadership categorization, it means that we have this intuitive feeling of what we see as a leader or who we see as a leader. And if we don't address our bias, we also have a more narrow definition then of what is a leader or who could be a leader. And so when there's lots of implications for this, and I'll just run through the studies really quickly. It can influence who we invest in as a leader. So there's a set of studies that looked at who are we likely to invest in when there's an entrepreneurial pitch, for example. And so you guessed it, they were more likely to invest in men entrepreneurs than women entrepreneurs, especially if the men entrepreneurs looked like these guys. If they were more attractive, they were more likely to get more money. How attractive leadership roles are. This also comes back to the supply side view. Compared to men, women find leadership positions also attractive or attainable, so they believe they can get into these leadership positions, but they find them less attractive because of some of these more traditional definitions of what we think of when we think of leaders. And the criteria we apply for men and women leaders is also slightly different. There's a double bind coming back to that first study that I introduced, that being competent and likable can be tricky for women compared to men. Whereas men, if they also have this sort of nice guy bonus, so if they're competent, that's great, that we expect. But if they're also nice and warm and communal, they get what's called a communality bonus, and they benefit actually from violating that gender stereotype. So where do we go from here? I'll just quickly summarize. We need to challenge ideas about what make a good leader. So I introduced the idea of bias because this is everywhere in all the information that we process. So slow down our thinking and challenge some of these ideas. Having a broader definition of what leadership is and what we expect from our leaders means automatically that we will have more diverse leaders, and that also enriches our work environment. Post-COVID, we also see that we want more warmth and communality and connection from our leaders and empathy. And so this evolving definition of leadership also means that we need more diversity in what we define as leaders. And being aware of our own bias means we can also help others to become more aware of theirs, making it something that we can just easily talk about and chat about in a Saturday afternoon in Hamburg also just makes it something that we can address together. And keep the conversation going. So I hope today, in this brief introduction, it gave you some ideas and maybe some conversation starters to keep talking about how bias might affect not only your definition of what leader is, or a leader is, but also impact your different social interactions. So I quickly wrap up from there. If you want to hear more, of course, you'll have to join us in the fall. Hopefully this was giving you some food for thought, and if you have any questions or comments, I'll be around also afterwards. So thank you for your attention, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Please, the student panel participants can join me on stage, and we're about to start a student panel. Just one quick thing, the MBA alumni are advised to go to the 5th floor to the EE Lecture 1. Thank you. What is happening to you? No. Yeah, sure. So now it's your time to ask us questions. Please scan the QR code here and feel free to ask any questions you have related towards student life and how studies are here at KLU. But meanwhile, you think about questions and what you want to ask. I would like to ask everybody in the panel to present themselves. What are they studying, or what did they finish, and what are they doing right now? What are they working on, or what degree you're doing if you're still at KLU? Go ahead.
Okay, my name is James Bond. No, my name is Ben Nissen, and I did my master in management in 2022.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia. I graduated last year from my bachelor's in business administration, and currently I'm doing a gap year, I'm doing an internship, and will be starting a master's in October.
Hello everyone, I'm Nima. I'm currently a bachelor student in my 6th semester, so I'm working on my thesis, and I have around like 20 days left, so hopefully I'll be done soon, and my focus is sustainable management.
Hello everyone, I'm Kim. I'm in my international management master, currently just started an internship before going to Peru for my semester abroad, after which I then will write my thesis.
That sounded cool, Peru. So the first question is, how does a weekly schedule look like at KLU? Maybe we have one from the master's, one from the bachelor's, talking generally. I know it varies, but...
Yeah, so maybe I can start. So the KLU actually supports students that want to have working student jobs. So the way your scheduling usually looks like is that you may have courses on 2 or 3 days per week. So that means you have 2 or 3 days where you're free, and if you have like a student job, you can work in those days, and if you don't have a job, then they're basically free days. So you may have like days where you have more classes, like 1 or 2 courses, but you also have days that you're completely free. So if you have any hobbies or, like I said, you're working, you can do that.
Well, for the master, I would say it's a bit different. I did not work part-time, or as a student job, people do it, up to 15, between 20 hours a week. I think it's also a bit of a full-time job if you also want to do your sports and do have somewhat of a social life. It does vary. You do not have classes on every day, of course. I think a big part of why I say it's a full-time job is because I, for example, am a high achiever, so I also have to prepare, do my homework, and so on and so forth. But you have classes they can start at 8:30. Generally, they go 3 hours. We do have a break to cut it off because, of course, we all know after some certain point in time we are not as focused anymore. But yeah, I would say the latest you would have classes until can sometimes be 8, because we do also have some external professors who have their job and then come inside. But this is mainly for the electives that you can then choose, which you will get informed about beforehand.
Okay. What is the best thing about the campus at KLU? I think all of us can answer that. Maybe we all have special locations. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, the location itself is quite central in Hamburg, but I think the fact that the campus is small, I really like, because in my semester abroad, in my university, it was quite a big campus, and it was very complicated to get from one room to another room, but it's quite simple here, and I think very easy to use, and yeah, very calm and not too big. I don't have to walk 15 minutes from one class to another class. So yeah.
What I really like about the KLU campus is that it's located right next to the Elbe. Actually, I just grabbed a cocktail here at the cocktail. And they don't have that every day, but just at the open day. But I just grabbed a cocktail and went into the to the, how do you say it? To the row right next to the Elbe, and I had a great view, and yeah, I still like that.
That's true, and I think I would also like to mention the golden egg that we're sitting in right now. I think it's quite unique, and I always enjoyed having that in the university.
Obviously, having the Elfi location, amazing, but I'm not going to focus on. What I think is the best is actually the breakout rooms. We will show this to you later in a tour. I think it's a big part of the campus and the student life, because the breakout rooms are basically, as it says, maybe you know it already from Zoom. I'm sure we've all been there sometimes. Ultimately, it's a place where students get together to study. I've barely studied at home, and I think it's also a big part of what makes you a student here at KLU. You interact with each other, you get help from the people that might be better in econometrics than yourself, or it's really a place of getting together, studying together, and yeah, becoming kind of a unity at university.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all your points, but like the 5th and the 4th floor, we'll get to that at a second point. The view is amazing. Like everybody, I'm like, we have to open like a bar there and sell cocktails. I think people would come. Then we have 2-3 questions related to math skills, computer science, stuff like that. I mean, business requires some math knowledge. We have math classes, speaking from the bachelor perspective, and I think you need foundation of that, but there's also always help from tutor students, or the professors are always willing to help, so nobody struggled with that, but maybe, I don't know how it was in the master's, the math part?
Yes, I mean, you have your basics in your bachelor ready, should have. If not, of course it is challenging. I'm not a math head, I'm more on the language organizational side of things, but you have teachers that really care about your progress that you're making. So they will also come up with ways to support you outside of the classes. And then again, you have students who might be better at math than you, and they will then support you, right? So you can get help where you need, and like mentioned before, you have student tutors that you can get as well. Additionally to that, there's a safety net. So even if math or AI or whatever is not your strong suit, you're not alone, and there will be somebody to help you out with that.
Yeah. What is the best? How is the student life at KLU? Like, what's good about it?
I think it is very international. That's what I really liked. I started here my master's degree in the year 2020. We all know as the start of the Corona crisis. And I really wanted to go abroad because I did my bachelor in a small university town in Göttingen. And therefore I wanted to go abroad, but that was not possible then. And then a friend of mine who did his bachelor degree here at KLU recommended the KLU because he said it's very international, and I can only agree on that. I mean, in the first semester, even people who were came from, I don't know, different kinds of continents were in our online classes, and even in the second semester, they were around here on campus, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, personally, I really like the student life here and the extracurriculars that the KLU offers. So, of course, when I started, it was also the beginning or the middle of the corona pandemic. So there were less events, but as time went on, we had more events at the uni. And me personally, I'm in the events committee. So we host events for the students. And through these events, you know, because it's like a small uni, I can get to know everyone. And everyone gets to know everyone, and it's very chill. And like we have activities that we can do outside of lectures that we can kind of, you know, not be stressed, not necessarily stressed, but we're not always focusing on our studies, but we can chill, have some fun, meet new people, make some new friends. And like, yeah, the KLU offers around, I think, 6 to 7 extracurriculars, and they're really supportive for students that want to start their own student clubs and extracurriculars that don't exist already. And yeah, so I on our website, there's a list of all the events or extracurriculars that we have. Yeah.
I mean, I could add a little bit to that. I had an own idea and I created my own club at KLU. So also that if you have an idea and the club is not existing, you can come up with your own club and you get support not only like financially to host your events, but also you have the facilities and everybody you can ask for as staff members, they're all willing to help. So I definitely would agree that I think at some point every week there is some kind of night happening, whether it's like Oscars night, gala night, casino night, sustainability, trivia game night. So there's always something ongoing around campus. So I think that's a good part about student life. Does anybody have anything else? No? Yeah.
I mean, it was mentioned already, right? What makes this different to other universities, you have this close-knit community if you want to. You're not forced to be a part of all the events that are going on, but you have the opportunity. And especially for people that maybe are not from Hamburg, it's a nice way to get to know people that are maybe in the bachelors or the masters and have a mingle of the different nationalities. And Nima does organize the events quite well. He's also always open for suggestions. But I think, yeah, this kind of close-knit community that the KLU has through the from the lecture starting already, but also with the breakout rooms and the events and everything. So it's really it's a special kind of community.
And yeah, just to add on to that, like I think in a lot of universities, bachelor students and master students are like segregated because of the age difference. But I would say in KLU it's like completely the opposite. Like, yeah, I have so many friends in masters, and I know so many master students that have friends in bachelors, and it's like everyone gets along with everyone, regardless of how old you are, what stage in life you are, and yeah.
Maybe to like put this hand in hand, we have the semester abroad here, so maybe where did you go? And also what do you think are the advantages of KLU students? And one of them would definitely be the semester abroad, that it's included in this 3 years or the 2 years if it's a master's. So.
Okay, maybe I will start. I don't want to go back to the COVID pandemic again from the topic, but I wanted to go to for my semesters abroad to China, to Ningbo, which is one of our partner universities. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, that couldn't happen. So KLU helped me a lot with the international office to postpone everything. And then I went to France for my semesters abroad. It was a great time. And I especially enjoyed this, working closely together with KLU to find a solution, which was very short term. And so I think that was definitely an advantage of having a small university. And the semester abroad was a really great experience to have it included in the studies.
Yeah, so I think you haven't done yours, and you couldn't, right, because of COVID?
I did the semester abroad, yeah, in Pisa, actually. It was a long discussion if we can go, but I don't know, after a month of discussion, I went to northern Italy, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and I went to Budapest, I think I mentioned already, but I would say, like, because we have like partner universities, it's really easy to do this trip. And if you do it somewhere in Europe, you know, Erasmus kind of helps you fund the trip. So yeah, it's quite easy and, to be honest, very enjoyable.
I'm going to Peru, so halfway around the globe after my internship. Very excited about that. you do not have to pay extra tuition fees. So that is incorporated in your semester abroad. And there are a lot of opportunities. And we do have the international office team that's constantly working on creating new connections, finding new places. One of the biggest advantages for me as a master's student, especially because, I mean, I'm not going to do a PhD, so after that my academic career will be over in that sense. So in terms of career opportunities, I think there should be a special shout out to the career services, because this team that exists at KLU really guides you through the process of creating your CV, how to have interviews. I, in the master's course, had specific classes teaching you how to do that, how to put yourself out there to be able to find a job opportunity. And they also host events such as the Career Connect event, where I actually also got my internship at a company that I would have never thought about, just because KLU gave me the opportunity to meet these companies. So I think for me personally, that is one of the biggest advantages, this network that they do create for you and that you can leverage. And it's a really great opportunity that we get handed.
Yeah, I also did my semester abroad in Italy, in Trieste. I mean, it's definitely fun, and like there are no strings attached towards bringing grades back, so that's also cool. You can enjoy your time there and party a little. And I would say that a competitive advantage as a KLU student that you have in comparison to a normal public university student is that within the 3 years or 2 years, you have an internship, you have a semester abroad, and you have also studied in English, which is the language of the business world. And we have a question here related to like the study program. Please, for that, direct to the recruitment or the admissions office. They're the responsible people for that. The other one is, does the university help with visas and other documents during the international internship? I mean, sure, we do help with that, but the thing is the internship doesn't have to be definitely international. You can also do it in Germany or in your home country. How did you find out about KLU?
Recommendation.
Same.
Me too.
For me, I was just looking for universities and I found it randomly, and it was like one of the only English-speaking universities that I found. So, yeah.
Yeah, so for me it was also, I knew I wanted to come to Hamburg, but seeing that I have not been to a German university, I want to continue my studies in English. And then obviously I also came here, had a look at it, got a tour. And I think the impression that I personally has is you're very personally directed. People will give you answers, they will show you around. I did not make it to an open day. I just called and I was like, hey, I want to come by with my grandma because she's from Hamburg. Can we have a tour? And then they were like, yeah, come around. And I don't know, I just thought like all the points that I wanted and seeked for in a university really came through. And now also being here, you see the advantages a bit more as well.
Yeah. We have one question regarding accommodation. No, KLU doesn't have in-campus accommodation, but you can ask student services and maybe they can help you, I don't know, give websites of places you can find a student dorm or an apartment. Then we have... how are the opportunities of entrepreneurship and support to be a founder? I know that for the master programs there is something, right?
Actually, after my master degree, I decided to found a startup, and I think there's after I did my master degree, there was not a lot going on, but I was able, like one of the professors. Gave me an office here at the KLU, cool. Which is kind of cool, in the fifth lounge next to the coffee machine.
I'm jealous now.
Yeah, I think they're doing a lot right now. I think it's Professor Jan Becker. I think he does really a lot in that in that field right now. I think he also wants to do kind of entrepreneurial classes, and then he also brings I think. People in the entrepreneur world to campus to inspire students here. So I think in the next upcoming years there's got to be more interesting stuff going on.
And like you mentioned with Professor Jan Becker, I think they actually started a club for people looking to start their own startup, and Yeah, I don't know exactly what it's called. I'm not part of it, but
I also don't remember it.
Yeah.
But it's also like in
so
the Bachelor program, there's like innovation and new business venture, where we had like 6 different founders and startup founders where you can get like inspiration from. And that class really brings you like the backside of what is it like to be a founder, because sure, it's a cool thing, but also a lot of stuff come with it. And also in the master programs, if you don't go abroad, there's also an opportunity to kind of have your own research with a startup idea. But for that, you ask Professor Barrow outside. He's a responsible person. We also have another question regarding Deutschland Stipendium. Also for that, please go to admissions or recruitment. We're not eligible to respond to that. And to kind of sum it up now and to end the panel talk, what was your highlight of your studies so far? Or if you're finished, what was it?
Yeah, maybe I can start. So, of course, you know, the academic part was nice, learning and stuff. But, you know, kind of like you learn everywhere in every university. But if I'm being honest, like the most fun I had was through all the extracurriculars I did and all the people I met. So I think that would be my answer. Yeah.
I think my answer would be, my last day here at KLU when I received my certificate. I think because in general it's all about, that you go through all these exam weeks and after those 2 years you really recognize that you really have to persevere and that it's in the end that it's worth it, you know, for this one moment. Yeah, that you go through some tough times, Corona lockdowns, exam weeks, but then in the end it's worth it.
Nicely said. I also think that my highlight would be looking back to it, looking back at what we achieved, at what I achieved at the university, and seeing things from the theoretical lectures back in your practical work every day, just getting to use all these experiences for the future. I think I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think the funnest times I will always look back to is the time I had in the breakout room. Yes, studying, but also having fun in the break when you were not studying, right? I also think for the master that really went by so quickly. I started in September. I'm now done with my lectures here at KLU, now doing my internship, which also I must say just how I got that. And I can also see myself working there because I will write my thesis with the company that I met here and also see an opportunity to start work with them. And you never know what will happen. Maybe I will not like it, but for now, at the start of the internship, I can really see myself there. And of course, I'm also looking forward for the semester abroad. But yeah, basically my lectures are over here now, semester abroad, and then thesis, and then I will be done. And I think it was intense, it was challenging for sure, but it goes by so quickly and I really enjoyed it.
I also realized I forgot to answer, was it difficult to study in English? I mean, all of us are non-native English speakers, and if you know English beforehand, I think it's pretty fine with it. Nobody judges the accent or anything like that. You just speak freely. My highlight, I think it's just picking KLU in the first place, because if I look back at it, I also was in doubts, like probably a lot of you are, and I was like, is it going to work out? Is it not going to work out? But I would pick KLU over and over again if I had to. So that would be the end of our student panel talk. Thank you for staying with us. Now is your time to go outside, have some more talks, clarify more your thoughts, and then join us for the campus tours. Thank you.